These are the Western chapters. We will start off with Gian Lorenzo Bernini, Sculpture of David. Okay, the Sculpture of David is a masterpiece of Baroque sculpture, unlike earlier representations of David, like those by Donatello or Michelangelo. Bernini captures the hero in the middle of action, just as he's about to slay Goliath. The intense expression on David's face and the twisting motion of his body and the tense muscles convey the drama and the power of the moment. And this sculpture is a brilliant example of how Baroque style emphasizes movement and emotion in the human form. The energy of the piece is so strong that it almost feels like David could jump out of the marble at any second. The work is important because it moves away from the calm, idealized figures of the Renaissance and brings an emotional, almost theatrical quality to the art. And it shows the power of realism in the human spirit, helping shape the way later artists would portray actions and emotions. And the image to my right is the dome of the Church of San Carlo in Rome. And the dome of the Church of San Carlo, designed by Francesco Borromini, is a remarkable achievement in Baroque architecture. The dome is famous for its unique, undulating shape that seems to stretch and grow outwards, and this design breaks away from traditional circular domes seen in earlier architecture, creating a sense of motion and energy. The intricate patterns and dramatic light play across the space creates a feeling of awe. Borromini's design reflects the Baroque desire to evoke emotion and bring the viewer closer to God, making architecture itself feel spiritual. And the dome's curvature also shows Baroque fascination with space and perspective. It demonstrates how architecture can also be used to enhance a sense of divine and elevate the viewer's senses. This is Caravaggio Bacchus, and this is a compelling painting of the Roman god of wine, often seen as a symbol of indulgence. What makes this piece so interesting is Caravaggio's use of realism. Instead of showing Bacchus as a glorified idealized figure, he presents him as a young man, perhaps a bit tipsy, with an almost human vulnerability. The play of light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, brings out the texture of the fruits, the skin, and the folds of Bacchus' robes. This intense realism creates a sense of intimacy with the viewer, as though Bacchus could step out of the canvas at any time, and the painting's significance lies in Caravaggio's challenge to traditional representation of gods and heroes. He strips away the divine aura and gives them a relatable aura, almost earthly quality, and this approach revolutionized painting. The next painting is Caravaggio, The Calling of Saint Matthew. And The Calling of Saint Matthew is a dramatic depiction of the moment when Jesus calls Matthew to follow him. The scene is set in a dark, shadowy room with light focused sharply on Matthew and Jesus. The use of light in this painting is crucial, as it illuminates Matthew's face and hand as if to emphasize the moment of divine intervention. Caravaggio's naturalistic style, with its focus on ordinary people, brings a sense of realism to this biblical story. The figures aren't idealized saints, but real people, dressed in contemporary clothing. This makes the miracle feel more immediate and personal. The calling of Saint Matthew is important because it blends religious narrative with the real world, making the sacred more relatable to the viewer. It marks a shift in how religious stories were depicted, with a focus on human experience and divine grace. The next one is the Immaculate Conception, which is a beautiful example of Baroque emphasis on the divine and the emotional impact of this painting. This painting shows Virgin Mary, often depicted as the Immaculate Conception, floating above the clouds, surrounded by angels, and her purity is represented by her immaculate glowing appearance. The soft flowing drapery and the peaceful expression of Mary's face creates a sense of serenity and grace. Murillo's use of light adds to this divine quality as it's seen to shine directly on her face, highlighting her holiness. The significance of this work lies in its religious theme, which was especially important during the Counter-Reformation, when the Catholic Church wanted to emphasize the purity of sanctity of the Virgin Mary. It also shows how Baroque art often served to inspire devotion and awe in viewers, leading them to reflect on their faith. The painting next to it is Prometheus Bound by Peter Paul Rubens. And this is a dramatic painting by Peter Paul Rubens and Franz Snyder, where Rubens captures the moment when the titan Prometheus is punished by Zeus for giving fire to humanity. The power muscles and tortured expression of Prometheus reflect the Baroque fascination with human emotion and physical strength, and the swirling movement of the scene, with its dark, stormy sky and dynamic figures, adds to the feeling of chaos and suffering. The dramatic use of color, light, and movement makes this piece a vivid representation of Baroque's art's focus on emotion, power, and conflict. And the last one is The View of Harlem with Bleaching Grounds by Jacob van Roosendael. And this is a stunning example of Dutch landscape painting from the 17th century. The paintings show a vast, open landscape with a church tower in the distance, and fields where linen is being bleached. The use of light and shadow is remarkable, with the sky's dramatic clouds contrasting against the bright fields below. Ruisdael's careful attention to nature and the texture of the grass and the movement of the winds in the clouds creates a sense of realism that draws the viewer into the scene. And this work is significant because it shows how Dutch artists during the Golden Age celebrated the beauty of their homeland and the relationship between nature and human activities. Together, these artworks remind us of the power of art to move us, to make us see the world and ourselves in new ways. And the Baroque era was all about breaking boundaries, whether through dramatic lighting, intense emotion, or innovative compositions. These pieces still speak to us today because they capture the complexity of human experience from the divine to the everyday. By appreciating them, we connect to the past and we learn to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be, filled with energy, emotion, and life.